Hello, this is Intro to Maya. So if you open Maya for the first time, you might see something like this. You might not see any recent projects unless you're in a lab where you're sharing computers or like a project. These are all files that I have been working on and a project that I've been working in. If you see this and um, I would initially just go to New, and you'll see something like this. If you don't see something like this, you should go to up here. This is your workspace. These are like layouts, different layouts you can use to do different things like sculpting and modeling. So they set up the menus a different way to optimize that. And you can save your own too. But sometimes the layouts or the workspace can be a little confusing if you take it from someone else. So you'll want to go over here to say reset current workspace. And that should take you should set it to general, then reset current workspace. And that will set you up for default Maya workspace for general work. So this can be kind of intimidating, so don't worry about it. Most of these tools you will use very rarely, and you'll use like 10% a lot. And that is also segmented by the type of work you're doing. So if you're modeling, you'll use 10% of the modeling tools, and then 90% you'll use for special cases. And then also if you're doing rigging, that's, very similar. So, and also you have to think about a lot of these things here are repeated. Everything in this shelf is repeated somewhere up here or somewhere else. So if I go to here, that creates a sphere. And this creates all the polygon primitives. So that is a cube, cylinder. I can go over here and go to create and go to polygon primitives, and that's all the same stuff, plus some extra ones also. So if I go to cube, I can, did I create two spheres? Actually, I accidentally did a sphere again, but that's okay. So that takes me to the next thing. So right now you can't see my, you can see one sphere, but not the other. You can select them by hitting left click. And you'll see over here, this is kind of the outliner. And you'll see a list of objects in your scene. And when you select it, you should see something like this, these arrows. You can move the object by just moving it like that. And you can move them in this way or this way. You can move it from the center. You can only move it from, these are called, this is Z and this is Y. So if you select this thing, it will only do Z and Y on that plane. And it's the same thing for these other ones. It's different. So this would be Z and X, and that would be X and Y. So you can move things that way. And then you can also rotate things. So you can rotate like that by hitting W. So W will rotate things, and R will scale things. So I usually keep my hand on WER. You can also access this stuff here, WER. If you're not moving things right, if it's like acting weird, which happens a lot when you're just starting to learn a program. You accidentally hit a hotkey, you accidentally hit some kind of weird setting. If you double click, so right now I'm hitting W, and I go to, and my movement tool's not acting like it should. I can double click it, so double left click it, and go to reset tool. And this will reset it to what default settings. And then it will usually fix most things. And it's the same thing for rotation. So go to the rotation, double click, reset tool. Go to scale, double click it, and go to reset tool on the top. So most tools will have this reset tool. It's the default settings for the tool. You can also go to tool help, which will pop up a Maya help page with a description of settings and that kind of stuff. Okay, so that's good. One last thing for this first video is moving around in your scene. So you've probably been seeing me moving around because it's just default natural for me by now. To pan around, hit Alt and left click, and that will kind of rotate around things like this. Alt and left click and moving your mouse. And then Alt and middle mouse, this will move things on a plane or yeah, kind of like on a screen plane. So I'm moving around. I'm not rotating. I'm just kind of moving up and down, left and right, not around. Then there is Alt and right click, and this is a zoom. You can see you can zoom really far. And another way to do this, which is a little bit less smooth, and you have a little less control, is middle mouse rolling your wheel. So I can move this. So one thing that happens for students is they'll zoom out really, really far, and then they lost everything, and then they can't select anything, they don't see anything. The way that you can get back to your sphere with your geometry is you can select it in the outliner, and you can hit F to focus on it. And this will get you back to your origin. If you're like, oh, I didn't make any geometry, you can create something. You could create something like that, a sphere, and then hit F. Because usually when you create something, it will, unless you have a different setting that's not normal, then it will be created in the origin. The origin is the center of this grid. And if you don't have this grid, like you came in, you reset everything, you don't have the grid, that's this option here. But it still should make it, even if you don't see the grid, it should make it in the center. I think that is a good first video. Play around with moving, create some objects, that kind of thing.